to begin.
Greetings everybody! Since the last time I reviewed some cards, we got some more. Today I'm gonna talk about the last 7 cards revealed, so from Omega Devastator up to Togwaggle Scheme. And then I will analyze them and see the power level and see how you can make them useful. So, let's start with Omega Devastator. This card is really good. So, just look at the stat line. 4 mana, 4/5, and is a mech. So straight up, it's at least a Chillwind Yeti. Vanilla stats are good, you can play it on turn 4 and you don't feel bad about it. It's also a mech, so that means with Dr. Boom, one of the only heroes that still stays in the game together with Hagata and Zul'jin, you can just have Rush on it. So you can play a 4 mana 4/5, but when you play Dr. Boom, it's probably like already late game, so if you're approaching turn 10, you should probably just wait for the Battle Cry. The Battle Cry is deal 10 damage to a minion if you have 10 mana crystals. So, I don't know, this usually kills most of the stuff. So, I wouldn't say it's a Vile Spine Slayer. It's kind of like a Vile Spine. It's kind of like, I don't know, a better Crowd Roaster. Not really conditional, like the only condition is having the mana crystals. And if you're playing Control Warrior, you want to take the games to late game anyways. My only question about this is, how viable is Control Warrior going to be? And how is it going to play out? Is it going to play Mechatoon and the Boom Ship and try to like do some combos with like maybe Malygos and Inner Rage? Is it going to play just straight up Control? And if so, is straight up Control going to be good without you being able to play Baku? Maybe. Why? Dr. Boom is broken. Why do I think Dr. Boom is broken? I think Dr. Boom is like super powerful because right now you play it in the Baku deck. So you're willing to play the Dr. Boom and get his hero power and his effect of having Rush on all your mechs over 4 armor per turn. So obviously you're gonna make it the main win condition in the other deck if you don't have the 4 armor per turn hero power. Anyways, I think this card is like sick. The only reason why this wouldn't see play is if Warrior in a control variant wouldn't see play. But if Warrior in a control variant sees play, this card is gonna be a staple, 2-off. In like every single one of those decks. Rafam Scheme. I talked about this card on stream and we had different opinions. Right now we have a 4 mana card for Warlock that summons 4 1/1s and it never saw play. But I'm saying this card just might see play in Zoo. It might make Knife Juggler Zoo make a comeback. Why? If you hold it enough time in your hand, you can summon up to 6 imps. Basically this card evolves from like summoning a 1/1 imp to 2 1/1 imps to 3 1/1 imps. Every single turn you hold it in your hand. And I think that's a pretty valuable effect. You can combine, you can compare it with like the Forbidden card we got in Whispers of the Old Gods, which people didn't expect to see play, but it was very good at some point. The only issue with this card is it's a bad top deck. So if you draw it late game, you're pretty screwed. But if you hold it in your opening hand, it's amazing. It might even be better than Implosion. This card plus Knife Juggler on turn 5 can summon 5 1/1s, I think, depending on like how much it evolves. So if you have it in your mulligan, I'm not sure if it gets buffed on turn 1 to already summon 2 1/1s. And then turn 2 you have 3 1/1s, turn 3 you can play it for 4 1/1s. And then turn 4, 5, and then turn 5, 6 1/1s. That would be insane. But even if it upgrades only on turn 2, you can still summon 5 1/1s on turn 5. Together with Knife Juggler, that's pretty sick. Also, you have to consider that the power level of the game is going to go down as the most powerful expansions rotate away. So, I can see this card seeing play. Zoo also loses Doomguard, so they need some interesting card to play in their deck. And I feel like this card can make the cut. If you look at the scheme cards, as I said, all the scheme cards have the downside that they're awful top decks, so you're incentivized to keep them in the starting hand. But what if you end up drawing this card late in the game? Well, I think Zoo is one deck which can afford having some dead cards, because you have access to life tap. So even if you're top decking, so basically 0 cards in your hand, you draw Rafam Scheme, you don't need to play it instantly for a 1/1 imp. You don't want to do that. You just tap and hopefully you get a good card as the next card, and you make that card the play. So in top deck situations, it's still not that bad because it's not your only draw per turn, assuming that you have enough mana to life tap and play the other card. I think that's like the saving grace, and I think this scheme is going to be better than other schemes just because Warlock has access to the life tap. But I feel like this card is going to be good. I feel like this card is going to see play. If Zeus sees play. I'm not at the point yet where I can make predictions on what is going to be good and what's not going to be good. I'm going to do that once we see all the cards from the expansion. But if Zeus sees play, this card is going to be a staple in Zoo. That's my prediction. So another really good card. I'm super impressed by this set. Almost every single card I talked about is going to like see play in some way or another. If the deck where I think is going to be played will be good. Because like, this card can be amazing in Zoo, but if Zoo is not amazing, this card is not going to see play. It's as easy as that. Improve Morale. Deal 1 damage to a minion. If it survives, add a Lucky to your hand. Another amazing card. Like, I'm pleasantly surprised. Maybe a bit too many cards are good. Like, if all the cards are good, maybe like... it's gonna be a weird situation where like people still don't use the cards from like Witchwood and Rastakhan and Boomsday that much. I still feel Witchwood, Rastakhan, Boomsday are going to see more play because 3 expansions rotate out, so the spotlight is on them. But actually, I think the main spotlight is going to be on Rise of Shadows because so many cards are good from Rise of Shadows. Anyways, Improve Morale deals 1 damage to a minion. If it survives, you add a Lucky to your hand, as I said previously. This is very similar to Bloodwiker. It's a throwback at Bloodwiker. Instead of summoning a 2/2, you get a Lucky to your hand. Well, a 2/2 for 1 mana is pretty good, and you also deal 1 damage on the side. That's what made Bloodwiker a very good card. If you look at Improve Morale, it's more like a 2 mana card. 1 mana deal 1 damage is not that good, but you get a Lucky to your hand. And I think the Lucky makes up for the rest of the value. If the Lucky is good, basically I think a Lucky is worth like 2 mana on average. So you get a 2 mana card for 1 mana from a 1 mana card. So if the Lucky is good in that moment and the 1 damage is good in that moment, this card is plus value. So it should see play. I'm not sure if it's going to be a staple, but value-wise, it's good. For a 1 mana card, it delivers a bit more than what a 1 mana card should deliver. So yeah. Also, like, as it was shown in like the preview, it's working with Grommash very well. So, I don't know. That's extra factor. Maybe not necessarily with Grommash, but warriors in general can use the fact that dealing damage to your own minions is a good thing. So, 3 really good cards, the first ones we talked about. Let's see if the others can follow through. Lazul Scheme. Reduce attack of an enemy minion by 1 until your next turn. This card is also good. I don't think it's amazing. Maybe it won't even be on the level of Topsy. But the synergies I could find are 1 with Cabal Shadow Priest. You can just hold this card in your hand for like a couple turns. And then on 6 you play Lazul Scheme, Cabal. You can steal almost anything as long as you keep this card for like a long time in your hand. That's pretty solid combo. You don't need to do it on 6. Requires 2 cards and gives you 2 bodies. It's a bit weaker than going Twilight Acolyte Cabal, but you have to keep in mind Twilight Acolyte Cabal requires you to have 9 mana and a dragon in hand. This is like easier to do and you get 1 less body. You don't really care about the 2/4 body because the thing with Twilight Acolyte Cabal is that you ruin the attack of the minion that you steal. With this card you don't really ruin it. And you reduce the attack of the minion until your next turn. That may be a disadvantage because once you steal the minion will have like 0 attack on your opponent's turn. And only on your turn, on the back swing, is gonna get back the attack. So let's say you steal a Deathwing, it's gonna be a 0/12. But at least when it comes back to you, it will be a 12/12 that can attack phase. So it's still pretty good. And I like the combination with Cabal. Other than that, it also works with Topsy. I'm not sure what deck will want to play Cabal and Topsy just to play Lazul Scheme. Without Anduin, Priest doesn't seem like that amazing. Also, it lost Psychic Scream. Its only AoE is Mass Hysteria. I don't know. I don't know where I see Priest. I don't see Priest that well with the current cards that we were shown. But this card is good. Will it see play? Again, depends on Priest. Probably not with what we saw so far, but you never know like what they're gonna release for Priest. Oblivitron. 6 mana 3/4, Death Rattle. Summon a mech from your hand and trigger its Death Rattle. Well, we don't really have mechs with like that powerful Death Rattle. It's also pretty conditional. Every minion that is like having a Death Rattle to summon a minion that also has a Death Rattle. So what's a good mech that you can summon? I think it's the 6 mana 2/2 that summons a 7/7. There's gonna be like the jackpot. You play this dies, then you get a 2/2 and the 7/7. The 2/2 spawns also a 7/7. How often is that going to happen? And how often is it going to be good? I have no idea. Some people were saying that this works with Mechatoon, but it doesn't really, right? Like, you cannot trigger the Death Rattle of Mechatoon if Mechatoon is still alive. Can you play this card, kill it, get Mechatoon on board, and then also be able to kill Mechatoon in the same turn, maybe? Because you have 4 mana to play with. But with 4 mana, you have to kill this card and kill Mechatoon. Is that going to be good? Is that going to be doable? Who knows? Maybe people are going to find out some combo. But outside of combo things, this card is like not very strong on its own. At least in my first analysis. Statline is also pretty weak to play in a tempo deck. Yeah, I don't have high hopes for this, but I feel like maybe in a combo deck it could work. And now last but not least, Swamp Queen Hagata. This card is absolutely sick value-wise. The only thing you need to like think of is, do you have enough time to cash in on the value? So, you play this on turn 7 and you get a 5/5. Not really that amazing. But, you add a 5 mana 5/5 to your hand, and that 5 mana 5/5 learns 2 Shaman spells. It's not any Shaman spells. Only one of them can target something for probably simplicity's sake, and the other one can have like AoE effect. So you're either gonna get targetable plus AoE, or AoE AoE. You're never gonna get targetable. Like you won't get 2 lava bursts. You won't get lightning bolt and lava burst together, because no card in Hearthstone makes you choose the target twice. It's always like an independent task. Still, even with that said, this card has amazing potential. Also, it works with Shadowwalk. When you're going to play Shadowwalk, you're going to get a 5 mana 5/5 in your hand, probably with random spells, and you're going to get the spells casted that you got from your first 5 mana 5/5 that you selected. So let's say I pick Bloodlust and Bloodlust. I think you can pick Bloodlust twice. Then when you play Shadowwalk, he's going to cast 2 Bloodlusts, and he's also going to give you the 5 mana 5/5 with 2 random spells. So this card plus Shadowwalk equals infinite value. I mean, not really infinite, but if you add Hagata to the mix, you can have like a sick value deck. The only question is, how do you survive until you can do all your shenanigans? You lose Volcano, so like your only AoE is Hagata Scheme. How powerful is that? It's pretty powerful. But what I'm saying is, this card offers a possibility for Control Shaman to just outvalue most of the other decks in the metagame as it currently stands. We didn't see all the cards yet, so we don't know what tools the other classes have access to, but I think this is a strategy worth exploring. I really like the power level, and I feel like people say it's expensive, you have to pay 12 mana, but I think the payoff is worth it, and especially worth it if you play it together with Shadowwalk in a value deck. So yeah, I'm pretty excited to try this out. That's the cards that we got, guys. Again, oh no, there's one more card, sorry. I said Hagata is last one, but I didn't talk about Togwaggle Scheme yet. Choose a minion, shuffle 1 copy of it into your deck, and it upgrades every single turn. So if you hold this for 10 turns, it shuffles 10 copies. This card is insane. Like, for 1 mana, people are going to make this card work, trust me. I don't know if they're gonna play it in Pogo Hopper decks. I don't know if they're gonna play it just as a spell like Lab Recruiter spell, I don't know how they're gonna play it, but at 1 mana, it's 100% that somebody is gonna make it useful. I'm pretty sure of that. So it's exciting. It's an exciting card with a lot of possibilities that can happen. I didn't really think of like any particular combo other than like pogo hopping, but seems pretty good. And again, the cards that we saw only 15 out of 135 cards. These cards are insane. Like, out of all these cards, the only one I can say for certain once it play is the Forest Aid. And even this one, if Token Druid gets the right synergies, and probably it won't, it could be good. But this is like probably the weakest card. Other than that, every other card has like pretty good potential to high potential to being broken level. So this is like pretty amazing. Anyways, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this short card review. Once we get 10 more cards, let's say, I'll do another one. And yeah, this time around I'll like distribute the reviews with less cards, because this way I think I have like higher focus when I analyze them, and I don't miss anything. So if there is something I missed though, if you want to add anything to what I said about this particular card, just let me know down in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more content. You can also check me out on Twitch TV /RDU Live. I stream every single day almost, like 6 days per week in average. And I'm pretty hyped for the new expansion. I will stream a lot with the new expansion. And yeah, I hope you guys have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.